Welcome back to the first What the Falk Sunderland review show of the season. Sadly, it did start with defeat for the lads as newly promoted Ipswich Town. And of course, Nathan Broadhead arrived at the Stadium Light and took all 3 points with a 2-1 win. We've had a sleep and a night to think it over, and we're going to go over the main talking points from the game and kind of cover off what was actually not the worst defeat in the planet, but a defeat's a defeat in the same way a win is a win. But to join me, first and foremost, Brad Sharp. Brad, night to sleep on it, but how are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate. It was nice to be back in the stadium yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Shame that the tellies weren't on the wall the right way. But no, it was good to be back at the football. Result aside, I did enjoy myself. I in particular enjoyed the first half until late score, if I'm honest. I thought we played some lovely football. Very impressed by one player in particular. But yeah, I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate. I would have liked to start. I don't think you ever want to start a season where the defeat it kind of just takes the wind out your sails a little bit. But ultimately, nice to be back, and it was a good crowd, and I felt like the game itself was exciting. I never felt like the lads didn't put in effort to try and win the game. It would just, we'll get into it, but you know when a cat has a daft half hour? That was Sunderland yesterday, pretty much. Dave, obviously you've joined us as well, mate. Of course, it's a defeat. You always do join us after a defeat. How are you doing? Are you all right?
Yeah, very well. Really glad that my prediction was absolutely nowhere near. I nearly got the 4 goals bit right. I thought I wanted to give myself a little bit of credit, but yeah, no credit other than a bit of pretty football. The press was quite good in the first 20 minutes. Yeah, you move on. A season's not done after one game, is it? First time we've lost an opening day fixture in 7 seasons, I think. Unfortunately, there's a stat for you. But yeah, onwards and upwards, I guess.
Yeah, actually, that's true. I think. Well, I can't remember the last time we lost a game. Start of the season. We normally start quite well, don't we? Well, at least the first game. But I mean, 2-1 defeat, which isn't great. But 10 men, couple of daft goals conceded. Brad almost sneaked a draw. It had plenty of action. It wasn't like a boring game. I'm sure the neutrals would have enjoyed it. But kind of how are you feeling about it the day afterwards? Because it doesn't feel as demoralising as maybe a defeat normally should do because of multiple reasons. But how are you feeling?
I feel quite positive, really. I am hoping that the owners have seen what we've all seen. I think it was a big 2 fingers up to them from Tony Mowbray being 2-0 down, taking our only recognised striker off and throwing big Dan Ballard up there. But no, I feel I've seen. I know you can't win or lose a season on the first game, but I have seen glimpses there that there is quality in this side, and they are only going to improve with more games, given the age of them. Bellingham, Ekwa, just to name a couple. I thought they were very good, considering that's the first game of the season. I'm not going to be too downhearted. Yes, I would have liked to at least picked up a point towards the end. I thought we probably would have deserved it on the balance of play. Take nothing away from Ipswich, the game, and they executed a decent enough game plan on us, I think. Got a goal just before half time, didn't they? And that changes the team talk on both sides. And I think we came out and we looked a little bit rattled, as if we hadn't used the half time to settle down. We looked like the goal had just happened technically, but we looked a little bit rattled and didn't get into our stride until we went 2-0 down and made a few changes. And funnily enough, went down to 10 men. I don't feel too bad about it. I mean, I called it, said we'd lose the first one, and let's see if we can go on and win the next 3.
Dave, sort of same question to you. Obviously, look, on paper, it's a defeat at home to a newly promoted side in front of a big crowd, and it's the home form we talked about has started off in the worst way because the defeat's a defeat, however you look at it. But look, there is glaring things that we're going to get onto that we do want to discuss. But I suppose in the cold light of day, we're not like, oh God, the football's back. Oh no, that's terrible. Oh, typical Sunderland. It's an okay defeat if there's such a thing. Actually, there's no such thing as an okay defeat, but it hasn't left us feeling demoralised or me feeling demoralised. Do you feel the same way, Dave? Or?
Yeah, it's one of them, isn't it? It's kind of that whole anticipation. It's been off for a couple of months, buzzing to get back there. 40 odd thousand. It's on Sky. let's be honest, sky's never normally a good omen for us if we're getting down to the nitty gritty of it. Like Brad said, there was positives there. I think first 20 minutes they couldn't cope with us, and then there's just a narrative with like Sky Sports commentary of certain teams, isn't there? I mean, if I hear once more about how good Ipswich are and how much depth they've got on the bench and stuff, what? They brought Marcus Harness on. Like, are you actually being serious? We're classing that as depth when there's the likes of Southampton and Leicester and Leeds, and yeah, I'm not having that. So obviously there's a bit of a love in. Kieran McKenna's clearly got shares in Sky, and that's the reason that they like all love him. They came, they had a plan. Broadhead was the difference, I suppose, wasn't he? Lucky deflection. It is a great pass for the second goal, albeit possibly shouldn't have had the time to do it. But that is, again, something we're going to have to get used to. The way that we want to play football, there is going to be spaces in between the lines. There is going to be players who play that kind of, I think I saw Copley call it yesterday, that 9.5 position. And it will punish us at times. We've got a lot to learn. They are young. I think a special mention to Pierre Ekwa yesterday, I think was phenomenal. I think he's grown every time, and that's probably his 20th appearance as a 25th appearance as a professional footballer. Bellingham made some nice touches and a few nice bits of vision. And then to give the old guard a mention, I think Pritchard needs a special mention, which I'm sure he will get a mention as the show goes on. Definitely offers us something. Definitely got a bit of old school intelligence, which we need. Yeah, not too deflated, but frustrated, I guess, is a better way to put it.
I'd agree with that, actually. I thought I agree with you on Eckworth. I've actually just checked, as you were saying that. I don't know if it's his 14th start, but that's only his 14th appearance in senior football. Bearing in mind, I think the one against Luton, where he was outstanding last season at home, would have been his 12th. So an absolute player that's in there. And I do want to discuss that first half, Brad, because it felt like we're in control, if I'm honest with you. Like, if you'd said to me, I thought we were going to get beat based on the first sort of half an hour. Yeah, they sneaked into it a little bit. They had that chance where 09 did brilliant to clear off the line, I think it was. But I remember saying, we've dominated this game, but like it feels like they've maybe had the best chance with that 09, and then the goal comes. But there was that huge chance for Job, right? And I think when you miss a chance like that, it starts to begin to tell a narrative a little bit. But the first half performance was good. What did you make of that sort of first half, especially the first 20 minutes, half an hour, and also that Joe Bellingham chance? Is that kind of where it changed a bit? Because it's a mental thing, isn't it, when you miss an open goal, even though it was a harder chance than it actually looked, I think.
I'll mention the chance first, really. I think he's caught it too well. It came back at him and he's actually caught it too well. Could have done with just scuffing it, hitting the bottom of his studs, and it would have just rolled in the net. But look, after he missed that chance, I don't think he let his head drop. He wanted to put it right. And that's the one player I was talking about at the start. I was very impressed with. He had some lovely touches, little flicks here and there. It was nice when we were trying to go a little bit long. We were trying to hit him and he was flicking it on to Clark. There was a couple of times that happened in the first half. He's a big boy. But yeah, like you said, we played some nice stuff. It was that final third. It's the elephant in the room. There's just no one there to finish it. And that's why you say Ipswich had the better chances, because they had strikers, experienced strikers. But when you look at it from the other side, it's sort of like, do Roberts and Clark, do they trust the striker that's in there? Because they had plenty of chances to put the ball in the box, but instead they were trying to cut in again, instead of whipping it in and see if he can get on the end of it. It was just it was very pleasing on the eye to watch until we got to the final third, and I just didn't see us creating them chances where I thought, there's going to be a goal coming here. And the one glaringly obvious chance that we had was for Mekwa striking it from outside the box, which was a lovely strike too, by the way. I'm not a fan of people scream and shoot when he gets the ball from 45 yards out, but when he's 20 yards out, we've seen what he's done in America. He's more than capable of finding the back of the net, and if not, making the goalkeeper spill it. So I hope going forward he has that confidence to take them type of strikes on more and more, because that could lead to some very good chances, as we've seen. But yeah, I mean, take that goal. If they hadn't scored that first half, I would say that's pretty much of a good first half as we could have asked for without a goal. I thought we dominated the play. Like, in the middle of the park, I can't remember them really causing us any problems. I've seen a few forums saying Broadhead was man of the match. He dominated the game. But until his goal, I didn't really think he touched the ball. I think we isolated their better players. It's just, look, I think it was a lucky deflection, but when I watch it back, and some of the times what he'd done, for some of the runs that he made for us, he actually put his leg out to play it as well. So it's a great instinctive finish, and I suppose that's what you get from having a striker who has the instinct to go and do that. But yeah, I mean, the game isn't won or lost in 45 minutes. Second half, it took us about 20 minutes to get going again, and that's really what killed us, I think.
Yeah, the start of that second half, I kind of have to agree. I alluded to it before and said it was like when your cat has a daft half hour, or your dog, whatever you have, and they just have all day they're kind of comfortable and normal and happy and just asleep, and then for like 25 minutes to 30 minutes just run around the house and just do all sorts of shite. That was kind of like Sunderland's defending for like 25 minutes, and it was like just at the end of the first half, and then that second half was a bit raggy, like. But I agree on Broadhead. Look, I'm a big fan of Broadhead. I think we should have brought him back. Obviously, that's not said in hindsight. You can listen back. I'm a big fan of Nathan Broadhead, but I kind of forgot that he was there until Rory hilariously went, the goal scorer, number 39, Nathan Broadhead, which is actually slightly different in comparison to his Ross Stewart. He's Ross Stewart, which I kind of felt sorry for. And I was like, oh shit, Broadhead's playing. Of course he did.
Or his announcement of 13 minutes added time.
He was had a little bit more vava-voom, I think, didn't he, when he said that? But to be fair to him, I would have said Broadhead the same way. So, but it did feel like I got to be honest. I mean, maybe I'm missing something, but I kind of forgot that he was playing against us. But the finish, yeah, you can't take it away from it. It looked really lucky at first, but when you watch it back, it's everything Broadhead's about, being in the right place at the right time. A nice little touch with the outside of his boots, sort of, and just instinct. And I think Broadhead's a great player. I think he's an excellent championship player, and I think he'll go on to prove that. And I think he'll be one of the better strikers we come up against. Away from that a little bit, Dave, obviously you were swung round by him a bit last season, and I know you weren't previously, but there's been plenty of rumour about Danny Bart, and we saw Luke O'Nien, who I was alluding to before, come in defence alongside Dan Ballard. Obviously, Jensen Seelt and Adji Alessi are injured, but it looks like at present, Mowbray is going to prefer O'Nien. I think coming back in the car last night, my overriding feeling of Twitter was that a lot of people seemed really frustrated with O'Nien. My personal opinion is that I quite like O'Nien centre half. I think it's actually his best position. People will disagree and agree with me on that. And I think, he was done a bit for the goal, but I think in general, O'Nien's showed that his best position is either there or at right back. And I'm 9 times out of 10 quite comfortable with him being there. But a lot of people don't agree with that. A lot of people are not of that opinion. But at present, it looks like Mowbray's going to prefer O'Nien, hence why Triantis is on the bench, and hence why Danny Bart was on the bench. People going overboard on the criticism of O'Nien yesterday, or is that a problem, Dave? Do you think we actually do need an out-and-out centre-half alongside Ballard, or, if Danny Bart doesn't go, do you just bring him back in alongside Ballard and, kind of use O'Nien as a substitute option, if you prefer?
I get the reasoning for him being there, and it's probably it's more his capabilities on the ball. We all know he can head the ball. He was our outball a million times when the average size of the defenders was like 5'3" last season. So he has got attributes there. The one thing that I think lets him down, and a lot of people will say it is one of his strong points, but is his personality and the way he plays football. It's an exuberance, and while it's contagious, and while it's also one of his strong points, in situations like that yesterday, it can be as negative as well. And I think that's all it comes down to. He hasn't got that experience of a Danny Bart. He's obviously not as big physically. That's understandable. Danny Bart's perfected his craft for however many years. I mean, what is Danny Bart, 30-year-old? So probably 12 years worth of playing centre half and an out 30. Oh, there you go then. So probably 15 years of playing centre half and out centre half. Luke O'Nine's been doing it for a couple of years. I saw, and I was the same the first 6 months that we had Luke O'Nine of kind of, here we go, he's got a lovely smile. I still saw that coming out yesterday on Twitter, and I'm kind of like, listen, I don't think it needs to be that bad. Yes, he was naive for the goal. Yes, you've got to give Broadhead kudos for the pass. It was perfectly weighted. Do I think George Hurst should be getting that much space? No, he shouldn't. It's one of them. It was naive from Luke O'Nine, but there was plenty of other mistakes before the goal. There is a couple of phases of play beforehand. If I'm not mistaken, was it not Patrick Roberts give the ball away originally? And I think there was a lack of options for Patrick Roberts to play the ball. And again, Patrick was frustrated. I saw someone yesterday saying that he shouldn't have been isolated, but then he was isolated for the last 10 minutes of regular play, and he absolutely tortured them. He was different level for 10 minutes, Patrick Roberts. Yeah, I don't think there's any. I can understand if we win 3-0 yesterday, nobody mentions Luke O'Nine. We've getting beat. There was a glaringly obvious mistake from him. There was other phases of play beforehand. I'm not getting carried away. I think there's definitely something there with Luke. I think he's definitely good enough to. He's proved last year he's good enough to play at this level. Where I think because he's that utility man, go back over the years to trying to think of someone like nationally who we'd recognise, Phil Neville. Who knows what Phil Neville's actual best position was? And within football, they'd probably tell you something different to us fans.
On the bench with Phil Neville. I will not forgive him for the Euros and that tackle on the Romanian lad. Idiot.
I reckon there's a few Sunderland fans would say Luke O'Nine's best position's on the bench. So there you go. The comparison fits. I don't think we need to get carried away. I can understand the frustration. We all share the same frustrations with lack of signings and lack of big names and whatever. This is the way the model is. And if we go 8 games without a win at the beginning of the season, I'm probably going to jump on board and say, yeah, this is taking the piss. 1 game in. Let's see how we react next week, I guess.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. I think, look, I'm a really big O'Nien fan. I think he's best position is centre half. But if you're asking me, do I want O'Nien to play there or Danny Bart alongside Ballard, I'm going to pick Danny Bart every time, if I'm completely honest with you. For reasons that I think most people will know. He's our player of the year last year, but well, apparently he's playing tomorrow against Crewe, but who knows what the future's going to hold with Danny Bart, and obviously not everything's as normal as you would like it to be. Brad, I'm going to come to you with the next one. Look, and we are really, really big fans of Trai Hume. Really big fans. I thought he was really poor yesterday, and I think that was summed up by his red card. But in the isolation of that incident, although it actually made us play better, weirdly, do you think it was a red card? Because I don't think the second yellow was a yellow, if I'm honest with you.
I don't even think it was a foul, mate. The Ipswich player has literally felt at the smallest hand on his back and went down. But that's the way the modern game is at the moment. If they have an opportunity to send someone off, it's not sportsmanship. They'll just go ahead and do it. If it was the other way around, we'd be telling our player to do pretty much the same, and we'd be calling for a red. So, but yeah, it's a strange one with Trai. I just didn't think he got into the game yesterday at all. I thought he was very, very poor. But touching on the 09 thing as well, now Hume's going to be suspended. I don't know if the EFL game, the cup game, counts for that, but I wouldn't be against seeing, I mean, I know Huggins came on, but I wouldn't be against seeing 09 go to right back and bringing Bart in. Because I think his 09's best position is right back, but I think Mowbray knows he can put Gooch there, he can put Huggins there, so we're not going to be short of cover really. But yeah, I was very disappointed with Trai Hume, not just with the red card. It was his overall game. I just didn't think he looked the same player as he has done. I'm not going to write again. I'm not going to write too much into it. It's one game. Last season he was absolutely outstanding, and rightfully kept his place in the side and deserves to be there on merit. But yeah, it was a funny. I'm still not convinced it was a stonewall red card. I think the referee could have maybe said, "Look, you're on a yellow anymore," and then that's it. But I think if the referee looks back, you'll think, "Oh, well, that was soft." Because to be fair, there was a couple of their number 7 was it with a stupid haircut. Before he got a yellow card, he brought down Jack Clark in pretty much the same circumstances and didn't get away. Got away with it and just got a talking to. Then the next foul he put in, he got a yellow. Hume put his first one in, and I think 09 and Ballard were telling the referee that because it was only a couple of minutes later that how can he give a yellow for one, not for the other? So in theory, if the referee wants to be consistent, here we are talking about fucking referees again. If he wants a bit of consistency, should their lad have had the yellow for the first one and then his second one being a red card potentially? But hey, it's gone. But he was poor, very poor. If he never got sent off, I'd have been looking to take him off.
I kind of agree with what Mowbray said yesterday. Like, I think referees are seemingly under so much pressure. They want to get every little thing 100% spot on and actually get more wrong. And I don't think it contributed to our defeat yesterday because I thought Hume was honking yesterday. And look, spade to spade, I really rate the kid a lot. I like him a lot, but that wasn't his standard yesterday. In any way, shape, size, or form, I thought he was incredibly poor. I thought Sirkin wasn't great. First half, I thought he grew into it from an attacking perspective later on, but that wasn't a red for me. I don't think it made much of a difference, but like ultimately it's a pain in the backside because you never know. Like one of those crosses that went in near the end could have had Hume on the end of it, might have stuck him up front and all that kind of rubbish and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, referees, of course we were going to discuss it. But look, elephant in the room, Dave. There is an elephant in the room here. We spoke highly of him here and said he'd look good in pre-season. I think we've seen yesterday we've got a very young, raw, talented kid that's going to take a while to go into his position. The lad behind me yesterday, and I hate to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it, said if you bang that ball over the top, Roscoe's running the channels down there. And I think even if you think Kimia was all right, and look, I didn't think he was great yesterday. I certainly didn't think he was bad. But I do think it's a shame that there was literally no options, and there's still no other options. We had Jack Clark up front, which is, you might as well stick me up front if I'm honest with you, I don't think Jack Clark's a centre forward. So elephant in the room, last season we had 2 periods of time where we had strikers that were injured and didn't replace it. And eventually we got to the playoffs and we kind of went, oh, okay, fair enough. Like, it's fine. We've worked it out. It's all right. Sorted out in the summer. We ended yesterday's game without a recognised striker. How many times do we need to repeat this before it gets remedied? And I'm not having to go at the recruitment here because I think Speakman's done a very good job. But you cannot be going into seasons with just one recognised striker. You just can't.
Massively, yeah. However, slightly different take. I agree with it all. However, I think Brad said it earlier, and I think who do I blame for that? Who am I going to blame for what I see? I guess it comes down to a little bit of Mowbray because we've had Hamia for a lot of pre-season. He's been in and around, and he's getting used to the way that we play. I think Brad hit it on the head earlier by saying Clark and Roberts were playing as inverted wingers, and I understand that. Hamia is clearly a different type of player to Roscoe. Many a player is going to be different to Roscoe because we all know how much we have a love in with him, me and yourself. And Hamia is there for the balls to be in the box. We saw it from the corner against Mallorca. What he brings to the party, he is a big lad, strong, physical. I think a couple of times the ball was played into his feet yesterday, and he looked after it quite well. And I'm a big fan of that. However, exactly like you say, them balls down the side, he's not going to be involved in that type of build-up play. And I think you've got to put that down tactically. The fact that we almost played as if we didn't have a centre forward yesterday, but we did have a centre forward. So it's slightly confusing, and it's also very frustrating when you break it down and you look at it, because how do you remedy that? Well, realistically, we had two out and out fullbacks yesterday who've getting a lot of praise from the footballing world as well as their own fans. Now, I haven't looked at it back, I haven't broke it down, but if Clark and Roberts are coming inside, that should then leave the space for the fullbacks to then deliver that ball. We've scored from a ball in from the left, good position from Dan Neil, good finish, tidy finish as well. Do I think if that ball comes across when Hemi is there that he finishes it? Yes, I do. So I think the style of play was a little bit confused yesterday. If we're going to try and play that way, you might as well just not play Pritchard up there as the false and bring Hemi on for a little bit of impact when we're going a bit more direct and doing it that. Of course, I agree with Brad. Again, I'm agreeing with Brad a lot today, which is mad. I know Ross in the group chat yesterday said, what's Mowbray doing bringing him off when we're chasing? And I think exactly the same as Brad. I think it's a massive fuck you to the board saying, get me some reinforcements, get me some different types of player. Again, I think I just revert back to that word. Frustrated, really, really frustrated at certain things. But it is game one of the season, so I'm prepared to let it slide and try not to get too upset about it, really.
I don't want to say, when we had, because we said first game of the season, I just want to point out I'm certainly not writing him here off. I'm not. I want him to be given the best chance possible to be an absolute asset, and I don't want all the pressure to be on a kid of 19 that's doesn't deserve that kind of pressure. I just wish Ross Stewart was fit so badly, but I feel like I've said that for I don't know how many months. Brad, what's your take on the striker situation? Because look, people are going to be like, "Oh, you're whinging, Graham." I am, but it's not right that we've only got one recognised striker going in again. Like, this needs to be remedied, and hopefully it will be by the time this goes out.
Yeah, I mean, exactly the same as Dave. I think we all, not just us, every Sunderland fan can all see it. So I don't know how them upstairs haven't seen it and addressed it yet. I mean, touching on what Dave was saying about the inverted wingers, I mean, there was times yesterday, especially Sturkin was getting down the outside of Clark, but Clark was just ignoring him, cutting inside, either losing it, falling over, or maybe he's just trying to switch the play, spread at the other side. But there was times Sturkin was getting down the outside and he wasn't being picked out by Clark at all, and that was quite frustrating because I think Sturkin had got the ability to put a ball in, like we're seeing for the goal. But yeah, it's not just the lack of having a big lad, a big striker up front. If we had Hamir and Stewart, it's having a different type of striker as well. Where if we did address it and had, I don't know, not just a Gelhardt type, but maybe of that mould, maybe, and then he changes it and brings someone like that on, and he can say, well, look, we're trying to tweak the system here and we're going to go for it. But it was the fact that he's bought Pritchard on the same time he's took Hamir off, when Pritchard has put them on a plate for him here in pre-season. I think he's assisted two of them, and we were saying for a large part of last season that Pritchard misses Ross Stewart, and that was like the change at that time where you thought Pritchard would have came on and give us that, I don't know, that bit creativity. It was just a bit strange, but it was definitely for Mowbray. It was him saying, like, fuck you, get me some strikers, or this is a shite you're going to have to put up with.
I like the idea of Tony Mowbray saying "fuck you." It actually makes me laugh quite a bit. That, but I can't imagine him ever saying it. Well, you know what it is. I can't even do his accent. But yeah, I do. I think it was a message, Brad, as well. I think he's more or less said it, hasn't he? I need more options up front. It doesn't think it's a hidden message. He said it. Feels like I've been more negative on this crap. But Dave, one big positive for me, if I'm completely honest, was Pritchard. And I think sometimes we dug Pritchard out a little bit last year for maybe being not good. But I think there was points when we were like, we know more can come from Pritchard because we rate him so highly. But I thought he made a massive difference yesterday. But it was annoying that he had nothing to hit because Hamir was the player that he replaced. There's question marks over Pritchard's future, whether he's going to get a contract at the end of the season. But I think for me, when we're talking about experience in a team, I actually quite like the idea of buying young, hungry players and all that kind of thing. But I think the way Pritchard came on and was just so mature in his performance, I think that speaks volumes as to why you do sometimes need that sort of experience within your ranks. And I think Pritchard is as important as he ever was. Me, what's your thoughts on Pritch?
Yeah, definitely. I at one point last season, I was probably thinking to myself, yeah, I can see why they're letting him go. I can see why they're letting him fizzle out. But then yesterday highlighted, and it might be different towards the middle of the season when everyone's up and running and up to speed. But yesterday highlighted what a Pritchard, what a Danny Bart instead of an 09 there, what a Corey Evans might bring you. And I think it just proves the point that you can't just do it with kids, as a famous Scottish man once said. Yeah, I really enjoyed Pritchard's cameo. He took a couple of minutes to get warm. I remember there's one little layout to the right wing that he played, and it was over his head. And I'm thinking, oh, for God's sake, here we go. He's just joined in with the rest of them. But he got on the ball, and I think that's the thing, isn't it, with someone like Pritchard? I noticed it from Roberts a little bit yesterday. As frustrated as we were with Jack Clark's performance, and I think in order to make it a bit more positive, because we probably have sounded frustrated, if nothing else, none of them shied away from the ball. Clark kept wanting the ball. Roberts kept wanting the ball. Pritchard kept wanting the ball. We had a little bit of momentum, even though we went down to 10 men, and we still managed to gather some momentum from 2-0 down. I think that's massively impressive, I guess, to still have a phase of a player that we're on top. It keeps us fans on board, because there's, at one point yesterday, I thought to myself, oh, they might just get booed off a little bit here. It's been a little bit flat this second half. And I'm not talking about boos and calling for Mowbray's head or anything, but I think maybe it's a little bit of displeasure. And they turned that round, and they give the players a good old send off on the way down the tunnel. So yeah, I think he's massively important. I think that just spine of experience, the senior parts of the team are really important. And listen, if Pritchard's not going to get another contract, which it sounds like he's not, I hope he sticks around for a couple of months until we replace him. Maybe Bradley Dack might pick up that part eventually.
Yeah, I think that's another fair point, to be honest. We're talking about bringing in experience, but there is Dack to come, and I mean, he's 29 and he's been there and done it, so that's fair play. It means that, you know, that the club obviously aren't completely against the idea of bringing in players over that age, as long as it's free and it represents good value, because otherwise Bradley Dack wouldn't be here. But I just think we have a little bit more trust in that spine, just something that anchor these players. I think it'll benefit these young, hungry players that are obviously hugely talented by having a bit of experience. But here, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. Like, you don't have to have a podcast to be able to recognize that, and I think it's said throughout our fan base. But Brad, two more things before we go. Obviously, 13 minutes injury time, actually really hard to disagree with, but just kind of a weirdly pleasant surprise, because you don't really see it. We normally see 4 minutes, 6 minutes if we're lucky. Looks like it's going to be a feature of next season. Is that a good thing, do you think? Could make it more exciting, make it a bit fairer?
Depends if we win or not. The guy next to me actually said, "Oh, there's got to be at least 3 or 4 minutes here at the end." And I said, maybe 7 or 8. Mind, they're doing this new thing where they can't waste time when they put 13 up. And strangely, right, I don't think that was enough, because throughout that 13 minutes, they time wasted again. I know the ref, I think, went to 15 in the end, but there was times where I think they went down with a stupid injury, faked an injury or whatever. There was a multi-ball, but they were forgetting to pick up the multi-ball. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. If it means us as paying fans are getting more football and more value to what we are paying for, then fine. Absolutely fine. It was good. I mean, I'm not going to... I am. I'm going to go on the referee. I thought he was shite. But that's not just for us. It wasn't a red card. Dan Ballard, I think, when they hit the bar, was very lucky not to give away a penalty.
That was a penalty. 100% that was a penalty. He absolutely wiped him out.
The one on Clark was a penalty.
Yeah.
But he gave a free kick the other way because Clark handballed it. So for me, that should have been a yellow card for deliberate handball or a yellow card for diving, whichever way he wants to put it. I think, again, he tried to show he was I'm the main man here. But look, I was pleasantly surprised to see the 13 minutes and know that they're not going to accept all this shithousery that became used to over the last 5 seasons, I would say. And if it eradicates it, then great, because I doubt we'll see 13 minutes going forward, because clubs now will look and go, well, they're going to add it on, so we're just doing ourselves an injustice. So just keep it moving a bit. He cautioned the goalkeeper for time wasting. Excellent. But where was his second yellow card for doing it again, literally 5 minutes later? Bit of consistency, please. But yeah, I'm all for it. If us as paying spectators are getting more value for the money, that's fine.
Yeah,
I think if you're sticking about 10 minutes average per game over the course of a year, over the course of the season, you'll get 3 extra games. So you definitely get more bang for your buck.
I mean, for me, it made it more exciting, and I went, well, that's fair. They've probably wasted about that amount of time, but unfortunately, we hit the post in the last minute, and it was a 2-1 defeat. But we'll move on. We'll move forward. We've got about a minute or so here left, because I still have not paid for the Zoom Premium. Dave, any players you'd like to see in the game against Crewe on Tuesday?
Yeah, I'd love to see Chris Rigg given a runabout. I'm keen to see how he gets on. Other than that, happy to see any of them. Hopefully, and maybe Hamia again. Maybe try and get him a goal. Try and give him a bit of confidence. Other than that, I'm fairly easy going at the minute.
Surely we've got to bring Bradley Dack in. If he's not completely match fit, this is a perfect game to bring him in. Surely. Yeah,
you agree. They were the 2 names I had sort of there, and I think Huggins as well, maybe. But I think Huggins will probably play anyway because of Hume being suspended. I don't actually even know if he's suspended for the league game, and I don't know. Lads, thanks for joining me. I wish it was a win to start with. It's the first time we've had to do an opening day defeat, but hopefully everyone listening's enjoyed it. And you know what? Go and subscribe if you have enjoyed it. That would be nice. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Listen.